He watches everyone closely. Do people count on the power of God? Oh, yeah. One place we see that is requests for prayer. Week after week, prayer requests come in for the prayer chain here at the church, or for a prayer to be offered at a staff meeting, or for a prayer during a Sunday morning worship service, or even a request just for, say, a private prayer for me, Pastor. I was watching the football game yesterday, University of Minnesota, 20 seconds left in the game. And the stadium was yelling, and there was cheering, and there was so much noise going on. And all of a sudden, there was dead silence because the Gophers coach, Coach Kill, was having a seizure on the sideline. And all of a sudden, the TV went from complete noise to complete silence. And both teams were down on one knee, and they were in circles, and they were in prayer. And the whole stadium was just silent for about 10 minutes. And there was so much prayer going on in that stadium. It was just an amazing moment to watch. People count on the power of God, and they pray. People like Annie Johnson Flint have counted on God. You may not know the name of Annie Johnson Flint, but you find her words often in a funeral bulletin or on those inspirational cards that you oftentimes buy. You have probably read several of her poems. Poems like this one: God hath not promised skies ever blue, flowers strewn pathways all our lives through. God hath not promised skies without rain, joy without sorrow, peace without pain. God hath promised strength for the day, rest for the labor, light for the way, grace for the trials, help from above, unfailing sympathy, undying love. In the early 1990s, early 1900s, Annie Johnson Flint was one of the most popular poets in America. And she did not write carefree, flippant, cheery, light-hearted poetry. Annie wrote from her heart out of some of the pain and tribulation in her own life. She demonstrated how God can be glorified even when we have trials. And she lived that life proclaimed in her verses. And that verse is just a sample of what she wrote, and it's all of that particular nature. Annie was born in New Jersey. Her mother died when she was 5 years old. Her mother died while giving birth to her sister. And a couple named Flint adopted Annie and her sister after they'd already lived 2 years in a very, well, it wasn't a good home that they were first in. And the Flints who adopted them loved Jesus, and they loved these little girls. It was a happy childhood from then on. Annie taught school for 3 years. She was an excellent pianist. She loved to play the piano. She loved to teach students. She could teach for 3 years, and then it was no longer possible because she had arthritis, and it was a progressive arthritis. And so with twisted hands, she started to write poetry like this. And when she could no longer write poetry with her twisted hands, she simply spoke it to another person who wrote it down for her. And after nearly 50 years of arthritis, Annie passed away. Her words still live on. And her last words, for a poet, you'd think her last words would be so many words strung together. Her last words was just one short sentence, said in faith to her family around her. She simply said, "It's all right. It's all right." Annie counted on the power of God even when the foundations were shaken. He giveth more grace when the burdens grow greater. He sendeth more strength when the labors increase. And so when the foundations are shaken, we can count on the power of God. And last, when the foundations are shaken, rejoice in the face of God. The psalm says, "The upright shall behold God's face. The upright shall behold his face." For those whose foundations have been shaken, there is that final and ultimate promise. There will come a day when we will be able to look on the very face of God. Why is that important? To know that we will look upon the face of God. And what will that face look like? It's important for many reasons. But one of them is being that God knows all about the bumps and bruises of our life as we go through this world. You have had bumps and bruises in life. Some of you have had more than your fair share. of bumps and bruises. And we will see someone who also has bumps and bruises. I took a certain little boy to a movie this week. It's called Cars 2. In the movie is this rusted and beat up tow truck named, anybody know the name of that tow truck? Tow-Mater, right? Tow-Mater. And Tow-Mater has many, many dents. And at one point in the movie, this just struck me, at one point in the movie, he has the opportunity to have all of his dents removed, to be completely new and clean and sparkling. But Tow-Mater says, this is right from the movie, Tow-Mater says, I got every one of them dents with my best buddy Lightning McQueen. I got every one of those dents living with my best buddy. And so Tow-Mater embraced his dents. They made him who he was, those dents. When we look in the face of Jesus, we will see the face